doing something different. We'll be broadcasting here online as well as here in Clubhouse as well as online on Facebook as well. So invite your friends, invite your co-workers, invite other business owners, authors, consultants, coaches. Go ahead and share the link with your tribe. Talking about the 5 keys to effective branding. And we're also going to be dealing with just a myriad of topics, right? We're going to do a Q&A or what have you. So I'm going to record tonight's session so I can repurpose the content later on, what have you. But listen, if you have any questions, I'm going to be doing a Q&A. I have some other giants on here as well that are in the marketing field. So we're just going to promote a lot of them to speakers, and we're just going to have a good time and really help some people out tonight as it relates to marketing. It's one of the things that I always get questions about is how do I market my business? How do I do this and that in my business? So we'll talk about all that tonight. What's going on Facebook? So listen, let's get into it. Let me turn this music down. Thank you guys so much for joining the room tonight. My name is Jay Freeman. If you don't know about me, just a little bit about me. I'm better known as the Marketing U Coach. Started my web design business and company in 2004 and transitioned to a full service marketing firm in about 2008. I went from doing just websites to doing graphic design work and company branding, and we really excelled from there. I also started my consulting company called Brandtastic Consulting, where our mission was to help strengthen the brands and revenue of companies that are looking to become profitable by leveraging their social media platforms. And so we've been able to help multiple businesses go from 4 or 5 figures a year to doing 6 and 7 figures. We've been able to help individuals leave their jobs, what have you, simply by teaching them about marketing, about strategy. And I'm currently writing my book, talking currently entitled The Marketing Mindset. The Marketing Mindset that'll be being released the first quarter of this year, what have you. And so, listen, let's get into it. Many times people always asking me about branding and about marketing. One of the things I often tell them that it really depends on what your end goal is, right? One of the things, we were in a mastermind today, and one of the things that the actual clinician was talking about was many times we say, well, what's your why? And that is definitely important. But even more important to that is having clarity of what the end goal is, right? Having clarity of what the end goal is. And then that'll solidify what your actual why is. And so as it relates to branding, what are the things that you're looking to do with your brand? What is a brand? Many people have, because there's some confusion as it relates to branding and marketing. And really a brand, if you think about it, it's a mark, made by burning kind of like a hot iron. If you look at the actual textbook definition and you think about like a cow, the cattle or what have you, and that herdsman that has the cattle and has the farm, he puts his brand with a hot iron to attest really who that cattle belongs to. It designates ownership. It's a class of goods that can be identified by your name or the product or service that you're offering to them. It's something that makes you distinctive, a distinctive kind. You just having a logo is not branding, okay? You just having a flyer or some type of digital asset is not branding. However, it all works together to create your branding. What you do matters. How you do it matters even more because that all is a part of branding. I often say that, hey, if you're not cutting your grass, guess what? You're branding yourself. If the way that you dress, you're branding yourself. The music that you listen to, or the music that you may be playing on your live streams, or anything what you may be doing here on Clubhouse, you're actually branding yourself. And so you want to understand that your brand is very important to you. Now, the difference between branding and marketing is branding, again, is your overall strategy. It's the overall goal of the actual marketing that you're going to be doing. Marketing is really the vehicle by which you're going to take that brand. So I often use this example, this analogy. Myself, if I step into my vehicle, I am the brand, right? I am the brand. I am Jay Freeman. I'm Jermaine Freeman. I am the brand, right? But if I get into, say, a car, a Mercedes Benz or what have you, now that's the vehicle that's going to take me to where I need to go to. And so if you think about marketing, what are the different vehicles we have for marketing? Well, we have TV, we have social media, we have radio, we have billboard advertisements. All of these are different vehicles of marketing to get our brand out there in the marketplace. And so people always ask, well, how do I get my business or my product or my book out there? First, you need to understand who you are as a brand. Branding is about knowing who you are, knowing who your company is, and who you guys represent. What are the core values of your company? What are the things that you actually hold important and dear to your heart? All of that's going to matter. All of that is going to come through on how you treat your customers, how you treat your clients. And so branding goes beyond just your look and feel. It goes really to the core of who your company really is. Okay. And so it's important to understand that. I mean, when you think of great brands, it's really about shaping the perception in the minds of your potential customers and clients, whoever's in your target audience. It's really about shaping that perception. And so how do you want that perception to be of your brand? How do you want people to perceive you? Are you a serious individual that's straight to the point all the time? Are you a fun individual? Are you an individual that wants your brand to be known to be a lighthearted brand, or what have you? Or do you want your brand to be more of a serious, straight to the point, no play, that type of brand? It's so many ways that you can actually shape and form your brand in the minds of your target audience. And so it involves the outside perception of your organization, your product, or even your business. It's really about, like if you don't pay your bills on time, guess what you're doing? You're actually branding, you're marketing to them. If you don't provide the right solutions, you're actually marketing to them. If you don't provide the solution to their problems, their pain points, the things that they need you to solve for them, then you're actually branding to them. You're marketing to them. How? Because you're telling them that what you provide is not what they need. And so either way you look at it, you're actually branding. And so it's really about the management of the perception. And we have to make sure that we understand what that management involves. It's the ability to understand really where people are, right, in regards to your brand. At the very core even of marketing is the ability to understand people and how they perceive you today, and really have a vision for how you would like them to perceive you. And in that, you begin to frame who your company is. You begin to frame, even in the marketplace, how your company is being perceived. And that's why it's important to make decisive strides towards that and make those adjustments so that way you can be communicating the right thing with your brand. We see it all the time in marketing, how people just, they don't take their branding seriously, or they don't take their marketing serious. And so they make some of the craziest mistakes. And really, if you think about branding, there's two things. If you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. There's two things that must really be established: how people think about you, and then what your clearly defined goal is of how you want people to think of you. Okay, let me say that again. So how people think about you, and then two, what your clearly defined goal is of how you want people to think of you. So here's some things to think about. How do you want to differentiate yourself from others? Some of the things you can think about is, how do you uniquely meet the needs of those that you're marketing to? What are the things that you do differently than others that would allow you to really stand out in the marketplace? You know, what do you do that's different? What makes you any different than any other business out there? And so you begin to say, okay, what do they like? What is your target audience like? What are their ages, their buying habits, the characteristics of them? And so there's a different psyche that goes into someone that simply eats at Ruth Chris versus McDonald's every day, or shops at Macy's or some of the others, Neiman Marcus or what have you, versus shopping at Walmart all the day for their clothes or what have you. And so there's a different mindset. Not saying there's something wrong with that. It just means that you have to identify that and understand who you're trying to reach. And when you do that, then your marketing becomes, and even your branding becomes even much more effective. And so how do we shape that, right? In order to begin that, we got to understand how perception is even formed. And many times people don't think about this in their marketing. But really, you have to understand that there's really two major components to that. It's what people see and what they hear about you. But then, two, it's where they are in life. Many of us can say that how we grew up, how we were raised, and all that has really shaped our perception of things that we look at in life today. It's the same way with your brand, the things that people hear about you, where they are right now. You may have a brand where they can't necessarily afford your services at the point they're at right now. And so they have a high perceived value of the services that you're offering. And they realize, hey, that's untouchable right now. But maybe 5 years from now, your brand is not untouchable to them. And now they can afford your services. They can afford to hire you, for one-on-one coaching or consultations or what have you. And so it's important to understand that just because somebody is in a certain place today doesn't mean that they're not, won't be ready to move forward, 2 or 3 years from now or what have you. So you got to remember, it's what they see, what they hear, but it's also where they are in life. It's also where they are in life. And so talking about an effective brand. So here's the 5 things, the 5 keys we were going to talk about tonight, the 5 keys to an effective brand. Number 1, the brand must be memorable. It's got to be memorable. When you think about effective brands and you think about companies that have done a great job branding themselves, we remember them. We remember their logo. We remember their slogans. We remember sometimes, a lot of times, their CEOs, if their CEOs have connected themselves as part of the brand. And so you have to have something that's memorable. How are people going to remember you when you're in a certain niche? How are they going to remember you from the next person, from the next business out there, from the next author, from the next speaker? How are they going to remember you? Okay. And then we also dealt with number 2 is really, you got to have a concise message. One of the worst things in the world is to have a mixed message when you're talking about your branding. Okay. You don't want to be giving mixed signals as it relates to your brand. People should know who and what you represent. Okay. They should know exactly the messaging that you have for your brand. They should know that when I come to this particular business, when I come to, when I deal with this particular coach or this particular consultant, they should know, okay, this is what I'm going to get. I don't have to worry about getting somebody else. Well, I don't have to worry about getting a different product. How would it be if you went to McDonald's and you got a Burger King burger? Right? It doesn't make sense, and so you want to make sure your messaging is concise. 3 is you want to have a consistent message. So your message has to be consistent. One thing people, one of the key components of really building a strong brand is really having a brand that people can trust, right? And so if you are starting today and then you are gone tomorrow, people can't trust that. They can't trust that because it's not consistent. You want to have a consistent message. You want to have a concise message. And so people want to know that you're going to be there. They want to know that you're going to be there for 5 years from now, okay, in your brand. And then 4, you want to have a relevant brand. You want to make sure that whatever you're doing with your brand, that it's relevant. It doesn't make sense to have a brand that's outdated, right? It doesn't make sense that you're trying to reach the young folk or the millennials, but yet your brand is not really speaking to them. It's speaking to the older generation, right? You have to be relevant with your brand, relevant to your target audience. Okay. And that brings me to like number 5. One of the main keys, number 5, is you have to be targeted appropriately. In other words, you have to know your actual audience. You've got to know your actual audience because it's very, very important. And what I tell my clients is this: the more you know your audience from the very beginning, the more money you will make and the more effective your marketing and branding will be. I can't tell you how many times I've had to coach individuals on rebrands, and they're rebranding because they were targeted wrong. They had the wrong audience, or they didn't niche down their audience. Think of branding like this. Think of marketing this way. When you're thinking about your target audience, I use this analogy. You know, there are plenty of fish in the ocean. There's thousands of species of fish in the ocean. And so if your bait is designed to catch a bass, say for instance, then you probably will catch a bass out there amongst all of those species of fish. You may be able to catch, 10, maybe 20 bass or what have you in a good fishing day, right? But what if you went to a pond that was stocked with bass? See, the difference is the ocean is wide open. There's so many different species of fish. And so the possibility of you catching the right quote unquote fish, which is quote unquote your audience, is slimmed down. But when you go to the actual source, when you go to the place that you know they're packed with, now you've ditched down. So now you are able to really make even more money because now you niche down and you're serving a specific audience. You're serving a targeted audience. And so no matter what the product is, as long as it's within that niche, they're going to take that bite. They're going to bite on that bait because they know that whatever you're serving to them is appropriate to them. It's actually appropriately targeted to them. And so you want to make sure that you're targeted appropriately. So again, number 1, effective brand is it's got to be memorable. It's got to be memorable. People got to remember who you are, what you've done, and all of that plays a part. And even in being memorable, we've got to understand that, yes, that also does mean your graphics, all of that have to be high class. You can't have images or pictures where, you have these flyers with these cell phone pictures. No. Go out there and get a professional photo shoot. So that way you're operating in excellence and you'll have great looking quality images. Go find a real graphic designer. Don't just find somebody that bought Photoshop and now they think they're a graphic designer. No, there's things that go into it. I have one of my partners up here now, Elton, an amazing graphic artist, and he'll tell you there's things that go into it that the naked eye does not see. And so you want to make sure that you're doing it the right way. Make sure that whatever a graphic artist you bring on, or whatever web developer you bring on, whether it's a consultant, it may be an image consultant, make sure that they are legit. Not that not that they backyard or whatever. No, make sure they're legit. They know what they're doing because all of that matters in your brand. So number 1, memorable. Number 2, a concise message. Make sure you're straight to the point with your branding. And number 3, a consistent message. Make sure you're consistent in what you're doing and what you are giving your target audience. And number 4, make sure you're relevant. You gotta be relevant. No matter what your product or offering that you're offering them, you have to make sure that you have it targeted to the point where it's relevant. It has to be relevant to the audience that you're serving. Okay. And then number 5, it's got to be targeted appropriately. It's got to be targeted appropriately. Now think about this. And you could just think about this out loud. When we think about different brands, we think about, like for instance, if I say Golden Arches, majority of y'all gonna automatically put that with what? McDonald's, right? When we think about Nike, what do we think about? When we hear Nike, okay, we know the slogan is what? Just do it. We know that the Nike logo is what? A check sign. It's amazing. Even at Amazon.com does a great job of branding. If you ever taken a look at their logo, many have not even realized the actual underlying theme that they have in their logo. Everybody sees the smile, but they don't understand that the smile is going from the A to the Z. And so what they're saying is we have everything from A to Z. Isn't that crazy, right? And so many people don't see that. And they just see the smile, but they don't see where the smile is starting from on the A and where it's completing on the Z or what have you. And that was strategic. That was not done accidentally. That was actually thought out. And it was a clever way of showing that, we carry everything under the sun, basically. Then when you look at Starbucks, I mean, people know about Starbucks. They know this coffee. You know when you see the Starbucks logo, you already know, okay, it's that little gypsy lady or whatever in the middle of it. And how about Apple? When we think about Apple, we think about the Apple sign with the bite out of it, right? Walmart, that's another great brand that they did a rebrand. I guess about 10 years ago, they did a rebrand. And so now you still can recognize. You can still recognize these actual brands and stuff. And so it's important that we understand in totality of how to really effectively brand our businesses or what have you. And really, even in creating a wow brand, it's really three things you got to really think about. It's really creating authority. It's really becoming an expert in what you do and really putting yourself in the right positive environments. And so even as it relates to your brand, having people speak positively of your brand. And that's how you create what I call the why brand, the wow brand, and allowing people to, when they know who you are, they know your business, they know what your company represents. You put out great products, your services are great. Then your brand becomes very, very strong. And so when people recognize your brand, they recognize your work. I've had people that have come to me and said, I knew your work. I knew your work. When you stopped working with this individual, I knew that it wasn't you that was doing their design. I knew it wasn't you that did their website or was maintaining their website. Why? Because I've already built a brand and people recognize the quality of the work that we do with my company and stuff. So I hope you've gotten something out of this. Tonight, I just wanted to come on real quick and kind of go over this content. This is my first broadcast on Clubhouse, and so I'm going to be coming on more often, really sharing some valuable nuggets for you as it relates to that actual content. Even with the Wow brand, I'm actually having a boot camp coming up real soon. So if you're interested in learning more about really stepping up your marketing game here in 2021, I'll have more information. Make sure you're following me on all of my social networks. It's Jermaine at Jermaine Freeman on all of the social networks or what have you. And listen, I'm going to open up for Q&A. I see some people here. I see Donna, Stephanie, Janetta, Portia, Talisa, Michael. If anybody has any questions, feel free to let me know. I can bring you on or what have you. And you can ask your questions. Just let me know if you guys have questions or what have you. Again, we're covering the five keys to effective branding. We're talking about being memorable, having a concise message, being consistent in your messaging, being relevant, and also making sure that our messaging is targeted appropriately. Make sure our brand is targeted to the right audience. Many times people are wondering why they're not making sales or they're not doing this or their following is not growing and all this. And it's because they have not targeted appropriately. One of the things I tell people, even with your personal page, if you're using your personal Facebook page or your Instagram page or your Twitter page, if you're using that for business, then you want to make sure that you are actually targeting individuals that you want to reach, right? So don't necessarily, even especially with Facebook, because now they've really eliminated and killed the engagement on business pages. And so a lot of people are using their personal pages now. And so what you want to do is learn to use your personal page for business as well as, your personal things or what have you, because people really value that. They really value being able to see you in your family life and the things that you're doing. They love that type of stuff. But understand that, once you are in a business mindset, you don't necessarily want to have your whole page filled with all, 5,000 people that are not even in your audience. You want to actually target individuals and do research, do Facebook research and all that. I think I'm gonna do a session on that as well, on how to do Facebook research and find your audience. Find your audience on Instagram. Find your audience on social on Facebook. So that way you can friend them and really build connections with them. That's what business is really all about. It's really all about connections. I was doing a sales call the other day, and I was telling the individual, I said, listen, the win for me is not about me getting paid on this call. The win for me is about getting you results. And I want to be getting you results a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now. And that's really what it should be about for everybody. It should be about really getting your clients results. When you do that, your clients will continue to come back to you. And guess what? They'll tell everybody else, they'll tell others about how great a job that you've done for them, or how you changed their mind, changed their life. I had one individual, I actually coached her again. It's been with 2 or 3 people. I've coached her how to leave her job. We put a plan in place. I was like, yo, if you want to leave, then we're going to put it in action, right? And I met her. Her brand was at a certain point that I didn't feel like it really lived up to the content that she was sharing. She had some amazing content. And I happened to see, her magazine, and I was like, "Yo, we want to up level this because you have some great stuff." And so I got with her, and we literally helped her build her business. And now she's doing 6 figures a year, and ready to move forward to 7 figures. And so you want to make sure that in whatever you do, make sure you do it with excellence, because all of that is a part of your brand. Every last piece of that is a part of your brand. Okay, I see we got a question here. Let me pull Stephanie on up here. All right, Stephanie, I just got you on here to speak.
Oh,
Hey, can you hear me?
can I can.
Yes, what's going on?
How are
I
you?
am doing great. Glad to have you tonight.
One, thank you. Thank you so much for everything that you shared as well.
Absolutely.
I do have a question. I am a wedding and portrait photographer.
Okay.
And I also
Oh, Lo, we lost her. Stephanie, come on back in the room and we'll put you back in. Come on back in the room. We'll put you back in. Anybody else have any other questions? Any questions at all? It could be business. It could be marketing related, about branding. Any questions at all? Let's give Stephanie a little bit of time to get back on. So yeah, those 5 keys to effective branding. Now, one of the things that we're going to be doing, I'm actually doing a zero to hero marketing branding masterclass that's going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks, and I go through a lot in that actual masterclass on branding, how to structure your branding strategy, the whole nine. We go into that in depth or what have you. And so again, you want to connect with me on social media, so that way. Okay, I see she's back up. Can you hear me, Steph?
okay, I'm sorry. I
All
don't
right,
know
no,
what happened.
no problem.
Okay. Um I was sharing, what if you started, what if you're not reaching the target audience that you wanted to reach when you started out?
Hmm.
I started out pretty much learning myself, teaching myself. I tried to get certain things from certain people, information, tried to get people to teach or whatever, but anyway, that's neither there here nor there, because I couldn't. For some reason, it was as though I just feel like sometimes people are afraid to share, or afraid to help you. So therefore, YouTube became my best friend. So I some stuff that I found on YouTube and I implemented it, but now I see my mistakes,
Okay.
and the target audience that I have was pretty much not the target audience I was going for.
Uh huh.
So now how do I reach the target audience that I pretty much want, because and I understand why I have the target audience that I have. Number one, because of my pricing.
Okay.
And and I've learned so much, and I learned my worth, and so therefore I up my pricing, and pretty much um so now I'm really trying to reach the target audience that I really wanted when I first started out.
Gotcha. Okay.
So how do you switch from where you are to getting the target audience that you want, but yet not wanting, because my target audience that I have now, they are really good customers. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying?
Right.
But I can't stay where I'm at,
Right. Right.
or I'll never survive in my business.
Right. Right. And you'll have
So and I'm trying to move to where I really want position myself to where I really want to be.
right. Yeah, absolutely. And you'll have situations like that. So here's the reality of it. Your audience will change over time.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes that's just a part of it. That's you have some people
Right.
that may be at a situation. You may have started at one place, right,
Mhm.
and you've grown over the years. One of the things I often say is, as a business owner, your vision should be the same from when you first launched your business 10 years from now,
Right.
right? It should be different.
Right.
And so what you have to do is really hone down and say, okay, what is my target audience? Who are the people that I really want to reach? And if you
Okay.
know that, then the next thing is, okay, where do they reside? Where do they congregate? Are they on
Right.
Instagram? Are they on Facebook? Are they in BNI meetings? Are they in,
Okay.
hobbies or whatever the case may be? And then
Uh,
once you know that, then you can actually hone that in. So who has your target audience been in the past?
Um, Pretty much is like a lot of low income, to be honest.
Right.
And my target audience that I really want, they're on LinkedIn, to be honest.
Gotcha. Okay.
They're pretty much on LinkedIn. But then those that I have, my clients that I have now, like I said, they're really good clients. And I do work with them. As long as I work with them, they pretty much get what they want. But I also, how can I put it? I'm not above where I should be, but I'm also not below. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right.
But therefore, I really, there's a place I want to be in my business, and I can't get there where I'm at now.
Right.
So therefore, I have to excel. But I
Right.
also um, don't want to make anybody feel a certain way. You
Well, see, here's the thing, and
okay?
and so what you're getting at is, that audience that you had initially
Mhm.
were uh, pretty much, for lack of better terms, they were more on the low end of
Right,
affordability or what have
right,
you.
right.
And your
They never
services,
they
yeah,
never looked at my high pockets.
right,
Never.
right. And
Yeah.
so over the course of time, you've actually moved yourself to another level, right?
Right.
And that's fine. I often, and this is something that I coach on all the time. The
Okay.
best way to change the audience from a economical standpoint is raising
Mhm.
your prices.
Okay.
That is absolutely the best way. And
Okay.
what we have to realize is, everybody is not. For instance, everybody can't afford a Warren Buffett as a coach,
Right.
right? I mean, they
Right.
can't afford to be paying $1 million for an hour. You know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
but somebody may be able to afford $250 an hour. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
there's individuals at every level.
Okay.
There's individuals at every level. And so literally, you may be in a place where, when you first started out,
Mhm.
you uh, you were serving those individuals, right?
Right.
I
Right.
had this conversation with actually the same lady I was talking about, how we helped her leave her job, and she's doing six
Mhm.
figures now and on her way to seven.
Mhm.
We had the same conversation, and that was, she'll tell you herself, that was the shift she had in her business. Now, here's the thing:
Okay.
this is what people oftentimes miss, right?
Okay.
Or they're
Uh-huh.
afraid of. You're going to lose customers.
Right.
You're going to lose clients.
Yeah.
But trust me, the quality of the clients that you're going to get from raising your prices,
Hmm.
It's going to be second to none. I mean,
Okay.
literally, you won't have to worry about the headaches that you're dealing with.
Right.
Because the problem is what we've, and it's just reality, right?
Yeah.
What we found out is that, and this is studies have shown this, even in my own personal businesses, I've seen this. And customers that pay a higher amount, we have less issues with them. It's the
Exactly.
it's the ones that
Exactly.
it's the ones that are cheap, that are cheap, for a better, lack of a better word, that are cheap, that we have the most issues with. It's like,
Issues. Exactly.
you come to me and you want a $5,000 looking website, but your budget's only $250. I'm not the designer for you. Okay. But there's somebody out there, or you can go to Wix, you can go to Squarespace or whatever, but we do custom designs, right? We do
Okay.
custom designs. So it's like, okay, I understand everybody is not there and everybody can't afford my services. I'm fine with that. Because guess what?
Exactly.
For every person that can afford your services, there's
Hmm.
somebody out there that can.
Okay.
And
Right.
that's what we have to stop with these limiting beliefs, right? We limit
Yes.
ourselves based on the beliefs of, well, I don't know if I'm worth that. I don't know if my services are overpriced. There's no such thing as overpriced. There's no such
Exactly.
thing as overpriced services. It's all of the perception. One of the things I taught my kids is, listen, let's stop saying that's too expensive. No,
Hmm.
it's not too expensive. We just can't afford it right now, right? Say you
Okay.
can't afford it.
Right.
See, words and the way that you frame your words matter so much.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
No.
And so it's not that it's expensive, because you come to me and say, I cost too much. Well, in whose eyes?
Exactly.
How you going to dictate to me that I cost too much? You don't know the value that I bring to the table. If I can,
Hmm.
I often tell people, I said, if you can shortcut people's processes, they'll pay you top dollar for it.
Right.
you know
Right.
and
Right.
so that would be the first thing, is really, especially if you've already got your audience honed down as far as who your products are designed to reach, your products or services.
Uh-huh.
So for instance, just out of the top of my head, say for instance, your actual audience or target market is a female from the ages of 25 to 35, that
Hmm.
that has they're corporate, a corporate
Right.
leader or corporate executive or what have you, right?
Exactly.
She has a family with two kids and a husband, right?
Hmm.
And she drives a Mercedes Benz. If you know that, if you know what we
Right.
call that avatar, right? Um,
Uh-huh.
that'll help you a lot, right? And so
Okay.
again, that avatar can change over time. When you
Right.
starting out, and we've all gone through this. Even
Hmm.
myself. When I first started in business, it was just about, okay, just finding the finding the first client, right? You want to find the first client, and then build from there. And but over a course of time, you grow, you learn
Right.
more, and you realize that the value that you bring to the table is
Hmm.
beyond what some people are willing to pay. And
Right.
so I often say, never, never, ever shortcut or undercut your value.
Okay.
You're worth it. If you've studied, if you've learned your craft, if you're helping
Hmm.
people change their lives and helping them grow their businesses, and being able to give them strategy and all that, never undercut your value, because there's
Right.
somebody out there that really appreciates who you are. I have clients now that have been working with me for 10, 15 years since I
Mm.
started my company, because they
Wow.
value what I bring to the table.
Right.
I've
Right.
even had watch this. I've even had clients that came to me. I quoted them, and they felt like it was too much. Went somewhere else and didn't get the quality and came back. So unfortunately, they had to pay double.
Double. Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, no, you didn't.
Wow.
Then eventually, we work together. Over a period of time,
Uh-huh.
and I look out for them. But that's
Right.
just like, okay, no. If I'm telling you this is the price, then you have to respect that. And you as the actual provider and the business owner, you
Mhm.
can't feel guilty about that. Okay.
Okay.
So again, when you raise your prices, you can't feel guilty about that. When people come to
Right.
you and say, "Well, I can't afford that," it's like, I'm sorry, this is what my pricing is. Now there'll be
Right.
situations where you'll want to work with them, and you'll say, "Okay, let's see what we can work out." There's been situations like that with me. Even
Okay.
even sometimes where I just pay it forward, you
Mhm.
know. But Those are moments where God has spoken to my heart.
Right.
that's the rarity. That's not, because I'm in business to make money. I'm in business to provide for my family. And I think a lot of times uh, people forget that. They forget that we're business owners, especially if you're a freelancer, if you're a coach or an author or whatever the case may be, consultant. They don't look at you as a business entity. It's like, no,
Right.
I have expenses. I got insurance. I have kids in college. I've got a house I got to take care of. I got, you know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
it's like, no, I'm a business. Whether I'm freelancing, whether I'm a proprietor, I am a business. And so, we're in business to make money. Who's not in business to make money? Yes, we want to have impact, and help change lives, but yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank
absolutely,
you so
no
much.
problem at all. No problem at all. Anybody? Okay, I see Portia has one. Let's see.
Hi, Jermaine.
Hey, Portia, what's going on?
How are
I'm
you?
doing great, and yourself?
Doing well. I see you're taking advantage of this platform. Thank you for bringing me on the stage.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, I have a question. So,
Okay.
first, I do want to acknowledge that I have witnessed. I know that probably one person that you may have mentioned that you've worked with for years,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen like how she's grown and she's developed her brand,
Uh-huh.
and so over the years I've been doing a lot of videos and doing a lot of engagements and just tapping into, what I love to do and what I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know that I have a solid plan
Right.
on what I want to do as far as branding myself and being in business and whatnot. But I've actually reached out to some people for support as far as branding, and it kind of fell through
Gotcha.
because they didn't respond, you know. And I
Right.
just looked at this guy saying, "Okay, this ain't the person." So I all right, so I was just like, I seen your work,
Mhm.
and like you said, I know, you do big business, but
Right.
I don't know if I can afford you. But we can talk about that later.
Right. Right. Right.
So
Right.
so I know I have a plan, but I feel like I'm in a place where now I need support in executing it.
Okay.
Like as far as building the brand.
Uh huh.
Is there any like suggestions or tips or anything that you can give me offhand? Or and then we can talk more later, but
Absolutely.
is there anything that you can offer as support? I mean, because I know you've seen some of the stuff I've done.
Right. Yeah, and really, it's really about the plan. Like I was mentioning at the top of the call, what's the end goal, right? And understanding that. I think many times people don't have the clarity of where they want to go to, and so it's hard to arrive there. And so with the branding and all that, I think one of the first things is if you already know your audience, it's really going where they are, right, and doing the things necessary to add them to your tribe. So like, let me ask you this: so as far as your branding, kind of like what is your frustration right now? What is the holdup that you're experiencing? Like if you had to give me your number one question, what would that be?
Um,
Or the number one pain, your number one pain point, I should say.
I think it would be more so, what should I do first? Like, because I've been, at one point I was like doing videos very consistently and I kind of fell back and focusing on myself and just trying to get direction on exactly where I'm taking this. So
Uh-huh.
now I have that direction.
Okay.
And I may just answer my own question by just saying this, but I think that um, as far as the building process, should I continue to do my videos and then launch whatever it is that I'm trying to offer as I'm building that audience? See, I feel like I'm answering my own
Yep.
question.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Yep. Absolutely. Here's the thing: content is king. Content is king, and so especially when you're producing great content, it's really really important in building your brand and really building your audience. And so, you want to do that, and while you're doing that, you want to make sure that you're actually serving that audience, but still while you're building behind the scenes to for the launch. You know what I mean? And so begin to now we get into kind of like business strategy. Begin to uh, look at like if that product, for instance, is serving a particular need, begin to do content on that and uh, lead that content up to your actual launch. If that makes sense. Can you?
Yes, it makes perfect sense.
Okay, yeah. And so what you want to do is, um, like for instance, say for instance, if you say, okay, I'm going to launch in March or second quarter of the year, then work backwards and say, okay, how much content did I need to have to begin to do that? So I can use like for instance, I was having a conversation today with a client, and we're going to relaunch one of her projects. And so one of the things I told her is she's going to where she's already going to be doing a 5 day challenge, right? Challenges are real big to really launch different products. What well, I don't know what kind of product you're talking about, but let's just use for an example. If it's a book launch, right? And so you could put things in motion. I can use myself as an example for the marketing mindset book. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do master classes leading up to that, talking about marketing and all that. But I'm also going to pull chapters from the actual book and actually do free seminars and stuff like that leading up to the book launch. And then we're going to give the book away for free, right? And so I'm literally going to give the book away for free. It's free plus shipping. Um, and so, of course, that's a twofold strategy. But I want to get that information into the hands of all of those that are part of my tribe. But also, I also want to build that momentum towards the actual launch of the book. So doing that, I already have okay, phase one, phase two, phase three for the launch or the pre-launch rather. And many times, uh, when you take on this strategy, like even in your situation where you're saying, okay, I'm providing content and all this, you may be in a position where, and again, we can talk further offline, but you may be in a position where you are able to even launch the product without even having done the product yet. You'll be amazed at how many content creators do that. Why? Because you don't want to create content that people don't want. You don't want to create a product that people don't want or need. And so, how do you find out what people want? You actually survey your audience. You put it out there. Hey, I'm looking at doing this. This is gonna, we're gonna be I'm providing it for an entry price. Say for instance, if it's a course, it may be a course. We're going to be providing for an entry price of $297 for all that take the beta course, and you get people that actually opt in, or you can make it even cheaper. You can say $97 or $197, and now you have 10 people that are a part of that launch, or 15 or 20 people that are part of that launch, right? And the actual content you actually create that on the spot with them. And so literally they're buying into the beta and the pre-launch, and then they're actually going to be the audience that you have, quote unquote, to create that course. And so you would schedule that course and give them access, and whether that's through Zoom or however you want to do it, through a webinar kind of format, whatever the case may be. But now you're building that momentum to your actual launch, and not only for the product but also for your tribe.
That's really good. You gave an example, the perfect example actually, because I'm actually starting, like, my husband and I were going to do the free conversations
Okay.
over social media starting this Friday. So we are going to talk about things that, and it's my thing. It's something that I've always done, is talk about things that most people don't want to talk about.
Right.
And
Right.
so, or they say. So I started that because I do have a product that I plan. Can you hear me? I'm sorry. My signal says it's okay. So because I plan to launch a product soon.
Mm-hmm.
Him and I both are going to launch a product soon. And so it would roll into that, those conversations of talking about these things,
Mm-hmm.
and to build that audience. And I actually have a women's network group that's in a group. So I'm still building that too. Like I'm putting content in that as well. So I have like the group, and I also have my social media feed, you know, to gain my targeted audience. So I am working on building those audiences
Right.
um, in different spaces. So you were actually like really on point. So that was perfect.
Wow. Yeah, you definitely on you're ahead of the game. As soon as you said Facebook group, I was like, okay, she gets it. That's one of the best ways to build your community and really build engagement and really show your expertise. It's to create your own Facebook group, invite your target audience to the Facebook group. I have that for real estate agents. That's one of our main niches for my digital marketing firm is real estate, and so I have that for real estate agents. I have a private group for them. And so I share value and all that in there. Then eventually they'll reach out and say, hey, I want to hire you. Right. And so, but the main thing is first creating that engagement and sharing that actual, your expertise or what have you. So you're definitely on point. And we could definitely talk more, strategy wise and all that offline.
Okay, great. Sounds good to me.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
Jermaine.
No problem at all. I see Melody on here. What's going on? Anybody else have any other questions? Any other questions about marketing? Any marketing business strategy? I'm here for you tonight. All right. Come on in, Melody.
Jermaine, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good,
Thank you
good.
for inviting me to the stage.
Absolutely.
I think this is a great room and it's very apropos for you because I feel like you have so many different perspectives for us as a live streamer. You do well with that. And then your ideas for how to get out and brand and market yourself in whatever industry. So I guess my thought would just be, or maybe a topic that we could kind of navigate to. I'm joining the room a little late, so if it's something that you've already covered, please feel free to stop me and let me know. But um, I'd like to talk about how to garner the engagement. Like
Okay.
say, I've had people look at my Instagram and they're like, "Oh, it's great. It's so aesthetically pleasing." I totally get what you do. And by the way, I'll introduce myself to the rest of the room. I am a realtor here in Southern California. I'm based out of Temecula, California, but I cover all of Southern California. I specialize in both residential and commercial real estate. And I've also branched out recently to the live stream space, just hosting and bolstering conversations around um, business, admirable life stories, and anything related to entrepreneurship. So I'm kind of doing that as well as, of course, focusing on my real estate branding. So it's very nice to meet all of you in the room. And again, back to the topic though, Jermaine, I do want to know, what do you think are some key ways to really build that engagement from people?
Sure. And so a lot of that does have to do with your audience, right? um, but it's really about what I found is the more I show about who I am, the more engaged people become. I think many times when we are business owners, we kind of shy away from showing ourselves, right? Showing us with our families, showing us hanging out and having a good time, just letting our hair down or what have you. And people are very, very attracted to that. I was sharing on another marketing class that I did, and I was telling them. Well, actually, it was a class that I was the speaker of, and I was telling them. I said, my most engaging content is actually content that I have with my family. When I post a picture with my wife, when I post a picture with my kids, or what have you. I mean, within 30 minutes, my wife would tell you she had to turn the notifications off if I tagged them because within 30 minutes, it's like 400 comments on it, or 400 likes or shares and all this type stuff. And so that having that balance of business and personal life is really important. Then there's some other things you got to look for. And there's some things I can share with you offline as well. You want to be intentional on trying to get engagement. Sometimes you'll know if you just scroll my timeline. Sometimes I'll just post a question, and true or false or this and that. What's your favorite, meal? What's your favorite time, time of the day to eat? Those types of engaging questions, they're deliberate, because I want to get engagement, not only to help, with the algorithm, with the Facebook algorithm, but also to help build that engagement with my tribe. With those that I feel like, okay, are following me. They want to hear my voice. They want to hear what I have to say, the expertise that I have to offer them. And so those one of the main things. And really, here's the thing that you have to look at, because we can get real deep into strategy. Really, it's really about offering what your audience wants. That's what it really comes down to. And so there's ways to do that. You can do that with a survey. You can do that with really just looking at data. Like I was having a coaching session today, and I was telling her, she heard from another coach that she shouldn't do the 5 day challenge. She should do it in 3. And I said, well, no, I've that's possible. That could be possible. I said, but I've heard, I've seen 5, even 7 day challenges work amazingly well. I said, but what we have to realize is we have to let the data speak to us. The data that we're collecting, we have to let it speak. So begin to form a posting strategy and say, okay, throughout the day, if you're not a social media type person, then you can formulate it and say, okay, on maybe once a day or twice a day, I want to post this different content. So in the morning, I'll post a family pic. In the afternoon, I'll post a business quote. And then later that night, I'll post a value, content. So that brings me to this point as well. Know what times your audience is on social media, because that's going to really play a part as well. So, for instance, on Instagram, what I noticed, based on the stats and stuff that I was getting, is that my audience is on Instagram usually late night. Now, the interesting thing is it's kind of flipped on Facebook. Like during the day, majority of my audience is on Facebook, right? So if I did like I did a live earlier today, and it was well attended, and so a lot of my audience is on Facebook during the day. Now on Instagram, and I guess that makes sense for this reason here. Usually, especially my audience, so like realtors, business owners, all that, if they're on Facebook during the day, normally they're trying to conduct business, right? They're trying to find lead, they're doing lead generation, they're trying to really build their brands and all this type stuff. Whereas in, after hours, after they get home and they relax, from 8 to 12, it's really about them kind of, browsing Instagram and all of that, and looking at the content and stuff of that nature. And so, me knowing that, now I know, okay, my most relevant content and the actual content that I want to really make an impact with them, I need to release that type stuff later in the night, right? Later in the evening, so that way they can see that. Here's another thing for your engagement. I mean, there's ways to trip your engagement. But one of the things that you want to, when you realize the great timing of when they're on, now you can capitalize on that. So, and here's what I mean by that. Facebook and Instagram, they really gauge how many people are going to see your post based on the engagement within the first 10 to 15 minutes of your actual post. And so literally, and it may have come down for Facebook, I think now with that new algorithm change, but literally, if depending on how many people click like or comment on your post, will determine how many more people that you're friends with they will actually expose that post to. Because remember, with Facebook, with Instagram, it's all about keeping people on the platform, and they want to show content that'll keep people. So if you post and within 5 minute period you have 20 or 30 people liking your post and all this, they're gonna say, well, okay, obviously this is good content that people want to see or hear. Therefore, we're gonna show it to more people. A lot of people don't know that and I found this to be true on Instagram and on Facebook, but definitely on Facebook, literally only about 2 to 3% of your actual friends list actually sees your content. And so that's why I tell people, hey, you could actually post the same content, 3 times a day, and majority of your audience is not going to see it. That's why a lot of people, especially with Twitter, right? Because it's so fast paced. With Twitter, they're like, okay, you can post 5 to 8 times a day, and you would never inundate anybody's timeline because it's so fast paced or what have you, and that many people are not going to see it. And so all of that comes into play when you're thinking about your engagement and all of that. And again, there's ways to trick it. So that's one of the ways to kind of trick the algorithm. So a lot of people make sure that when they're releasing their content, that it's released around the times where their audience is on Instagram the most or on Facebook the most. And there are a couple of apps that you can use. I'm trying to remember what this app is on my iPhone that'll actually tell you what are the best performing times. But they also have the actual stats from Facebook and Instagram if you have the business version. So if you've upgraded from the regular personal to the business on Instagram, and then you can also check your business page on Facebook and see uh, what times your audience is, or the most of your audience is on these platforms, and then start posting your content around those times. And I guarantee you'll see your engagement go up. And again, you got to have engaging content, right? So it's got to be content that's engaging to them. But if you do that, then you'll be able to see, those numbers go up. And then the more engagement you get, the easier it becomes for your content to go viral, what have you. Did that answer your question?
Hold on, I had to unmute myself. Oh my gosh. You just basically it's like a fire hydrant just came out. Boom. But a lot of what you shared was some things that I was kind of familiar with, but maybe you kind of went more on a granular level. So I was able to really kind of dissect, okay, what is it about the time of day? And like when you mentioned, you noticed that your Facebook audience is more attentive to you earlier in the day, and your Instagram maybe not so much until later. I've had the habit of just posting across the platforms. You're just like, okay, I got to get this content out for consistency, to make sure I'm showing up, because they tell you you got to post every day, or at least post so many times a day or a week or whatever.
Right.
So I think sometimes you can kind of generalize that and say, well, you know what, let me just make sure I'm getting some content out. Because of course, as an entrepreneur, I don't know how many people on tonight are actually in their own business, or even if you work a 9 to 5, you're doing something throughout the day. So actually posting social media content is something that also takes a lot of time, attention, and preparation. So I do think either you have to already have it kind of front loaded and ready and scheduled to post. But I think just that whole consistency piece can just kind of be inundating. But when you just explain how you can't always just blast it out there just to get the content going, you do have to be strategic about when people are actually going to be attentive and online and actually watching what you're posting. Some people get on and jump back off. I know I
Right.
do it all the time. So that was great information. There's still some more questions I have. I'd like to chat with you probably offline because I don't want to take up the time, but I definitely want to know more about how to really maximize those algorithms. Because as you mentioned, not very many people, even that are following you, always get a chance to see your activity and your posts,
Right.
which I don't think is fair, but whatever.
And it's all about, for Facebook, it's all about the money. And so they actually they actually have killed your engagement on purpose. And so that's why a lot of people are now using their actual business pages, because I'm sorry, not their business pages. They're using their personal pages now. I'm sorry, because now you're able to, you have engagement. A perfect example I was sharing with this. I'm not sure if I said it on this actual session or not, but I was sharing it earlier. Matter of fact, I think it was earlier on the pre I guess the pre-show, you can call it. I on my business page, with my Jermaine J Freeman, it's like my personal business page, so to speak. I used to get crazy engagement on it. I mean, literally, I could post something, and within a matter of 30, 40 minutes, it's got 200 likes and shares and all this type stuff, because I was posting about, of course, marketing. I'm a marketing guy, what have you. So I was posting about marketing and things of that nature. But when they got the Facebook advertising platform at ready to really launch, they killed all of business page engagement. And so literally overnight, you go from having this crazy engagement where you could post something, really didn't matter when you posted it, you could post it, and you still going to get engagement. To overnight, you'll post something and you may get 5 likes, may get 10 likes, and all of that. And it was because they want you to pay to play. That's what it is. They just want you to pay to play. And so we have to learn to how to work the algorithm until we can get to the point where we can pay to play. And then when we get into Facebook, that's a whole nother subject there. Facebook ads, but it'll take your business to the whole nother level, if you do them right.
That is so good. That's good information. And I'm so thankful that you're so well versed in many areas. You stay on top of, just learning and making sure you're always optimizing your game so that you can help us, and
Absolutely.
I'm just grateful for this room. I hope you do more of these.
Absolutely. I plan to. I plan to do. It probably won't be every night, but I'm trying to do at least 2 every week. And that's the other thing, even about what you were mentioning about showing up and stuff. To really think the as far as content, especially when you start talking about live streaming, and doing YouTube content or even things like this, it's really important that your audience knows when you're going to show up. And so you don't have to post every day. You don't have to necessarily do a live video every day and all this. There's YouTube channels that have millions of subscribers, and they do one video a week. You know what I mean? And so, but their audience knows when they're going to show up. And so that's real key, is being consistent in that and say, okay, this is when I'm going to show up, whether that's once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, and being consistent in that, and having that, so that way your audience knows that, and that'll help you grow your audience and your engagement as well. Yeah,
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jermaine. I think you answered my question very well. And I'll just move back to the audience. I'm sure someone else maybe has a question.
awesome. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, all right. Any other questions? Any other questions? Any other questions on marketing or strategy? Any other questions? Let me know. Going once, going twice. Again, let me reset the room. My name is Jay Freeman. I specialize in helping you grow your revenue through the power of social media. And my target audience is small business owners, real estate agents, loan officers, you name it. Anybody that needs marketing, we specialize in helping you get there from our consulting company, Brandtastic Consulting. I'm also the owner of Freeman Multimedia, which is a creative agency, and Bluebird Digital Marketing, which is our digital marketing agency specializing in helping businesses get exposed to digital marketing with Facebook ads, SEO, Google ads, you name it. We're able to help you grow your business or what have you. And so, yeah, we're just here. We were talking, doing a recap. We were talking about the effective keys, 5 keys to effective branding. And just a general recap of that, we talked about how your brand has to be memorable, and other people got to remember who you are, what your brand is, what it represents. 2, it has to have a concise message. 3, it has to be consistent, a consistent message. 4, it has to be relevant, right? You can't have a brand that's supposed to be reaching the young people, but yet your imagery, your fonts, the way that you form all of your messaging is really reaching out to the older generation, right? You can't have that. It's like sort of like a musician or an artist that has created music for the younger generation, but yet their dressing and their appearance and their performance is based on someone that's 65 and up. It's like, no, it's not. That's not going to fly. There's a identity crisis there, and so it's got to be relevant. And then 5 has got to be targeted. You got to have it targeted appropriately. So who are you trying to reach with your brand, with your marketing? And, like I was saying earlier, just having a logo, that's not branding. Just having a flyer, that's not branding. Having postcards and business cards, that's not branding, right? That's a part of the marketing process. But branding is really about everything you represent in your company, everything you represent in your church or your organization, everything you represent as the brand. All of that matters. All of that really matters. And so, yeah, if we don't have any other questions, listen, I'm actually going to be scheduling my other sessions tonight. But listen, follow me on social media. You can reach out if you want more information, if you need some help with your branding, need some coaching or what have you. You can go to my website at www.jermainefreeman.com. Again, that's www.jermainefreeman.com. And that Jermaine is Jamain. And then you can also visit my creative agency, freemanmultimedia.com, and our digital marketing agency, bluebirddm.com. That's Bluebird, D as in David, M as in Mary.com. So until next time, I hope you guys are really going out there and crushing it. Make sure that you make it a great, great day on tomorrow and go out there and accomplish your goals. Every day that we wake up, we have the opportunity. God has given us another opportunity to accomplish our goals and His will for our lives. So let's do it. Let's go out there, crush our goals, and make 2021 the best year you've ever had. We'll talk with you later. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Until next time, I'm signing off.